Wow. English referees might actually be worse than Spanish referees, and by which I mean the referees in La Liga, not necessarily any referee who is of Spanish descent. Why am I saying this? Well, to be quite honest, I do not know how that foul on Fatih Terim wasn't given as a penalty. I mean, I'm pretty sure Juskunde as well doesn't have the slightest of ideas. And it's funny because, we go back like 12 months ago, I made a video reviewing Barcelona's 1-0 loss away to Inter Milan. And in that video, I said that I felt FC Barcelona had been robbed by poor refereeing. And man, this time around, yeah, it's hard to argue that FC Porto did not just experience the same thing. And really, there's a lot of parallels here. Anyway, I'll get back to all of it because you're probably wondering why an FC Barcelona fan is starting off a match review of his team's narrow 1-0 win away from home in such a way. And, well, to be quite honest, guys, I have to tell the truth. I have to be honest. I like to see a game called fairly, and I don't really know if that's exactly what we saw here, at least in the case of those two non-penalty decisions. Anyway, we'll get deeper into that, but otherwise, hello everyone and welcome to Blaugrana Everything, and welcome back to the channel. For all those returning here, for those who are new here as well, welcome. I am going to be doing a match review for Barca's 1-0 win away to FC Porto, and man, I would just say that it's been a long time since I last saw Barcelona get a win that they didn't deserve that much. Yeah, we really didn't do much going forward, and yet we still managed to walk away with a big win, to be quite honest, because at this point now we need just 2 more wins and, no Europa League. And honestly speaking, what we actually need is just 1 more win and 1 more draw and no Europa League. And honestly speaking, that just anywho, as usual with my match reviews, I'm going to give you my negatives and positives from the performance. Then I will go ahead and give my team and manager ratings before picking a man of the match. And honestly, today in the man of the match, it was a bit difficult. It was hard, but we still got there. Okay, just like FC Barcelona still got there. In fact, I shouldn't be saying FC Barcelona because this was some vintage FC Barcelona, and that, my friend, is actually my first negative here. FC Barcelona returned for this one. It's basically when FC Barcelona plays a lot more like Atletico de Madrid than Atletico de Madrid. We saw it happen a lot last season as Barcelona squeezed out some 1-0 wins, just getting in some brilliant last-ditch defending and the likes. And that was kind of what happened here, if we ignore the fact that there was some very, very dodgy calls that were made by the officials. And Marc-Andre ter Stegen in particular, alongside Ronald Araujo and Jules Koundé, do have a lot of credit to take from this result, I think, because if they were not on the pitch, definitely Barcelona would have probably lost this game, maybe 3 or 4-1 easy. But aside from that, I would say my next negative was probably a wrong setup to begin with. Now, I love Oriol Romeu and I love everything that he has been able to do at FC Barcelona since his return here. So far this season, he's generally been a net positive. But there have been certain circumstances where he is not so much of a net positive. He's more like a net neutral, maybe at the end of the day, because one thing that Oriol Romeu lacks is, the kind of ball playing ability that a Sergio Busquets used to give you when playing that holding role. And whereas that doesn't become much of a problem when you're up against the likes of the Celta de Vigos, the Granadas, the Almerias, who aren't likely to put so much pressure on him, it is a very big problem in matches like this one where your pivot is going to be under a lot of pressure and the build-up depends on him being able to play those quick one-touch passes into teammates who are, free, or, finding that free man, finding the player in open space with either a quick one-touch pass or just generally a line-breaking pass. Now, all of those are, they're not really strengths of Oriol Romeu, and that showed here, for example, and it's a reason why I'm picking out Barcelona's setup as a negative here, because I felt that if Xavi had started a three of Gavi, Gundogan, and Fermin Lopez, for instance, he would have definitely had all the kind of ball playing abilities that he needs to play through a press that was honestly quite good from FC Porto. We did hear FC Porto's manager pre-match say that his team knew how to make FC Barcelona suffer, and that even though they would probably suffer on their part, they would make sure that Barca suffered as well. And Barcelona suffered a whole lot, hence my FC Barcelona reference. Yeah, it was that tight of a game, and it honestly didn't go as well as it should have or could have for FC Barcelona. Of course, because of all those injuries. I mean, when you don't have Frankie de Jong, you don't have Pedri, you don't have Rafinha coming into this, and you lose Robert Lewandowski just 30 minutes into it as well. Hopefully it's not going to be a long layoff for him. It's obviously not going to be an easy day, but it wasn't made any easier by the fact that Oriol Romeu was really being singled out during that press and was for huge parts of this game a passenger, because he couldn't exactly help Barcelona bring the ball out from the back. He can't exactly carry the ball, he can't exactly play a line breaking pass. He does what he does, which he's very good at, disrupting the opposition, winning the ball, recycling it, but in terms of playing through a press and doing all that kind of creative stuff that Sergio Busquets used to give you, he can't do that. Gundogan, on the other hand, like we saw against Sevilla, can do it. And that's the reason why I felt that Ilkay Gundogan in this case should have started as a pivot with Gavi and Fermin Lopez either side of him. Anyhow, now for the negatives, we can go on to some of the positives. And my first positive here is, we're going to call it poetic injustice. That's right, not poetic justice, because like I had referred to the Inter Milan match from last season earlier on, there was quite a bit of injustice that Barcelona suffered on that night. And it's rather odd that it's almost mirrored in the same kind of injustices that FC Porto suffered here, A goal which was prevented by a handball, Barcelona had a goal disallowed for handball. FC Porto had a goal scoring chance taken away from them for a dodgy handball on their player as well, just like it was for Barca last season with Fati. This season, Porto got the same kind of fate with, well, I don't know who it was, Eustáquio, I've forgotten the guy's name. And of course, with the penalties that weren't given, Barcelona were not given that penalty when Denzel Dumfries handled the ball clearly. And here, once again, we see Koundé fouled Teremi, and they didn't give that foul to FC Porto. So it was almost like that injustice came all the way around from last year, and it's back to bite Barcelona's opposition this time to secure a 1-0 win for Barca, just like then it secured a 1-0 win for Inter. So a lot of weird stuff here. So yeah, poetic injustice. Of course, it's a positive because Barcelona won. My other positive here, which is like my final positive, is that Xavi and Barca can at least walk away from this and put out a narrative of saying that the story is changing, the climate is changing. Former Barcelona teams or former versions of Barca would have lost on the night to FC Porto, but Barcelona won. So maybe they can start building up that mentality again, which will get them winning matches away from home, because guess what? This was the first match Barcelona won away from home against a team from a top 5 league since that win against Juventus in 2020. That's how long it's been since Barcelona won an away match. So yeah, positive on that regard. And moving on from there, we'll have to talk team and manager ratings. And right off the bat, manager rating 5 out of 10 for Xavi. Don't think I need to say any more than I already said in my negatives when I was talking about the setup. I feel that the Champions League is generally a competition where bravery is rewarded, and the fact that Xavi wasn't willing to be too brave here, I guess, on his part shows not just maybe a bit of naivety, but also a bit of nervousness. He was looking to just secure a result rather than to push his advantage to, play his way to a result. So because of that, I'm going to give him a 5 out of 10. Oh, and by the way, I totally forgot to say this earlier on. So, this is coming just like as an additional section after we're talking the manager rating and whatnot. Congratulations to Xavi Hernandez, because that was his 100th game in charge of FC Barcelona, and he now has 64 wins from those 100 games, which, you know, isn't bad going considering the state he inherited the team in. And as for the rest of the team, I'm going to go with a generous rating here, I think of 7 out of 10, just mostly because which player didn't do the job they were supposed to, aside from maybe Romeo here or there, because everybody really here was kind of shafted by how bad the team selection was. And at the end of the day, we had to rely on some great defending by Ronald Araujo and by Jules Koundé, and of course Marc-Andre ter Stegen as well. So for that reason, I'm going to be kind to the team and give them a 7 out of 10, unlike the 5 out of 10 I've given the manager. Anyway, so moving on from there, we do have to talk man of the match, and this one was a bit more difficult because, okay, let's be straight, it was between Koundé and Araujo, and both of them got yellow cards. One of them got a yellow card for what shouldn't have been a yellow card. Again, like I said, very weird refereeing we saw here from the English officials, and because of that, I guess Koundé is the man of the match because he got the yellow card he didn't deserve to get, as opposed to Araujo probably deserved his more. Anyway, that is that. Do let me know your thoughts though on the match, on the performance, on the result as well. And you know, the upcoming game as well, Granada. Hopefully Barcelona is going to play a lot better than they did here against FC Porto. And you know, commiserations to Porto, because quite honestly they did not deserve to walk away with nothing from that game. But aside from all of that, I thank you all for tuning in. Have a great day, and Forza Barça.